Mr. President, could we ask you a couple of questions? Yesterday, we heard a new statement of the U.S. President about having a summit with you or not having a summit with you about the Ukrainian crisis, and almost at the same time, the U.S. imposed sanctions on the Russian oil companies, and the European Union imposed new sanctions. They ban toilets, puzzles, wheelies, bicycles, and other things. Well, the fact that they banned buying toilets from us will cost them dearly, I believe. They might require toilets under the current conditions if they will continue similar policies in regards to the Russian Federation. As for the statements by the President of the United States, well, what can I say? During the latest phone conversation, and both the summit itself and its location were suggested by the American side, and I agreed to this. But I expressed my thoughts to these regards, and I said, obviously, summits like these need to be prepared well, both for myself and for the U.S. President. It would be a mistake to approach it light-mindedly and not to have any results, any outcome after such a summit. And the U.S. President completely agreed with this, and he said that they will have an entire team of officials of the current administration who will be working on preparing for this summit, and he gave me some names. And I said that after my American counterpart will agree on the list of those who will work on preparing this summit on our behalf, we will also announce a team of our officials to prepare for this summit. But the first steps must be made by the Foreign Minister of the Russian Federation, Mr. Lavrov, and the Secretary of State, Mr. Rubio, and that what we decided. And yes, I heard the statement that the U.S. President decided to cancel or postpone the summit. More likely he's speaking about postponing the summit. Well, what can I say? Dialogue is always better than a confrontation, dispute, or especially war. So we always supported this continuation of dialogue, and we continue to support this. As for the new sanctions now, well, there is nothing new to this. Yes, these are serious. This is a serious matter to us, and it will have certain consequences for us, but it will not have a significant impact on our economic well-being. During his first term, we know that back then President Trump imposed the biggest number of sanctions that were introduced against the Russian Federation for that moment. And it has two aspects now, a purely political aspect and an economic aspect. As for the politics, what do we have here? It is an attempt to exert pressure on Russia. But no self-respecting country, no self-respecting nation will never make any decisions under pressure. And obviously, Russia has this privilege, has this prerogative to be among this list of self-respecting countries and nations. That's one. And secondly, about the economic component of this. And yeah, speaking about the politics of it, then of course, it's an unfriendly step towards Russia. It is obvious it is not going to strengthen Russian-American relations that we have just started to restore with such actions, with such steps. The U.S. administration is damaging the U.S.-Russia relations. As for the economic part of this, I will say it again, there is nothing pleasant about this, there is nothing good about this, obviously, but if we take an objective, a professional look at this part, at the economic part of the sanctions, what do we see here? Currently, the U.S., I believe, they produce 13.5 barrels per day. They are number one. The Number 2 is Saudi Arabia, some 10 million, and the Russian Federation ranking third, some 9.5 million barrels per day. But the United States consume 20 million, so they sell something and they buy even more, mostly in Canada. They produce 13.5, they consume 20, and the Russian Federation and Saudi Arabia, they sell more of oil and petroleum products. So maybe from the top of my head, I can cite the numbers wrongly, but approximately, that sounds real. So as for the oil and petroleum products, Saudi Arabia sells externally some 9 million tons, and the Russian Federation sells 7.5 million tons. So our contribution, our input into the global energy balance is significant, very significant. And this balance currently both in the interest of the consumers and in the interest of producers. So there is this balance. And if you want to disrupt this balance, well, it is an ungrateful matter. Also for those who are trying to do this. Why is that? Because, well, first of all, I have to say that you can try to replace some amount of the Russian oil and petroleum products, but not all of it. But it will require time, and it will require big investment. For the first time from the Energy Agency, we heard that they are proposing and trying to talk the global stakeholders into investing into the fossil fuel energy. And before that, it was the other way around. And within this International Energy Agency, they were saying that one needs to invest into the alternative sources of energy. Yes, one has to, one needs to, but without the traditional types of energy, you cannot do in the nearest future, because the consumption is growing, the global economy is growing. So it will be impossible to enhance this amount in the short term. But if our oil and our petroleum product will be removed from the global market, the prices will grow. And we discussed it with my American counterpart. It will result into the spike, in the upsurge in the fuel, in the energy, including at the gas stations, including the U.S. The United States will not be excluded from this. And if we look at the calendar, at the political calendar in the U.S., we can understand how sensitive these matters are. And if such decisions are made, we need to understand who will benefit from those. But for us, it is important that we feel confident, we feel stable, and despite some losses that we will obviously face due to a number of circumstances, our energy sector feels quite confident. And I hope it will not result in any serious changes in the global markets. But everyone has to think about it. And I agree with the Energy Agency in the regard that one needs to invest into traditional energy sources. That's what we do. That's our intention as well, to continue to do so. And if there is no pressure, but when there is a serious conversation about the future in the economy, we have a lot of joint avenues for joint efforts, and we are open for this, but it does not depend solely on the Russian Federation. It also depends on our partners, including American partners. A question about the Western long-range weapons. What do you think about those contradictory signals that come from the U.S.? Wall Street Journal said that the U.S. raised all the limitations on using the long-range weapons, and then President Trump said that they are not going to supply Tomahawks, and then Zelensky says that they are going to receive weapons with the range of almost 3,000 kilometers. Is this an escalation? It is an attempt of escalation. If such weapons is used to strike the territory of the Russian Federation, the response will be very serious. It will be overwhelming even. Let them think about it.